All right, let's jump right in. For what? Over a century now, physics has been on this epic hunt for a single theory that explains, well, everything. Today, we're going to explore a really bold new manuscript that doesn't just tweak the math, it rewrites the entire story of how our reality even began. And this quote, it just nails it, doesn't it? This is from the source itself, and it perfectly captures that massive ambition. It's all about taking this incredibly complex universe and boiling it down to one single, elegant truth. It's a quest that Einstein started, and honestly, it has stumped the smartest people on the planet ever since. So, to really get why this is such a huge challenge, we first need to meet the main characters in this whole cosmic drama, the four fundamental forces that literally run the show. Now check this out because the analogy here is just brilliant for making sense of it all. Picture a tiny boat out on a huge ocean. That boat is a particle. Gravity, that's the deep, powerful current pulling the boat down, literally bending the shape of the ocean itself. Electromagnetism is like the waves on the surface, rocking the boat, making it interact with other things. The strong force? Well, that's like these unbreakable ropes tying a whole fleet of boats together, keeping their very centers from flying apart. And finally, the weak force is like a sudden random storm that can just snap those ropes, causing a boat to change into something else entirely. So the holy grail of physics has been to prove that the current, the waves, the ropes, and the storm are all somehow just different parts of the very same ocean. And that is exactly where we slam into a brick wall. I mean, for all the amazing things we've discovered, modern physics has completely failed to write one rulebook that governs all four of these forces. So the question is, why? Why are we so incredibly stuck? So here's the bottom line. Our best theories are broken, or at least they're incomplete. The Standard Model is a masterpiece, it really is, but it just ignores gravity completely, like it's not even there. Then you have string theory, which is mathematically beautiful, but we have no way to actually test it. And loop quantum gravity is another cool idea, but it doesn't get us all the way there either. But the real problem, the elephant in the room, is this deep, fundamental clash between Einstein's world of big things, like planets and galaxies, and the bizarre world of quantum mechanics for tiny, tiny particles. They just don't play well together. And this right here is the absolute heart of the manuscript we're digging into. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, the reason we're stuck is because we don't need a better answer. We need a much, much better question. And asking that new question leads us to a completely new origin story, one that proposes that before the Big Bang, before physics as we know it, there was something else entirely. Okay, this slide is huge. Look at the two columns. On the left, that's the Big Bang we all learned about, a crazy hot, dense point that physically explodes. But look at the right. This new idea is totally different. It wasn't an explosion. It was a metaphysical detachment, a kind of conceptual separation from a state of perfect, absolute stillness and symmetry. You see the difference? The Big Bang is great at telling us how the universe expanded, but this new theory, it's trying to answer why a universe existed in the first place. The core idea behind this is something the manuscript calls ontological minimalism. And despite the fancy name, it's actually an incredibly simple and beautiful idea. What if the universe didn't start from chaos and complexity, but from the absolute simplest state imaginable? A state of perfect order, a silent, unbroken, pre-physical unity. The theory is that all the mess and complexity we see today just unfolded from that one single pristine source. So how did it happen? Well, the theory proposes a three-step process. First, there was absolute zero. And we're not talking about temperature here. We're talking about a state of perfect stillness before any structure existed at all. Then, something had to kick things off. The theory calls this divine intentionality. Think of it as a fundamental will or purpose that came before physical laws, the spark that lit the fuse. And from that spark came the final step, primordial light, the very first break in the stillness, the moment unity was fractured and existence as we know it could begin. Okay, so if everything started as this one perfect thing, how in the world did we get four separate forces? Well, according to this model, they aren't separate at all. They're just different echoes, you could say, different memories of that original unity that was lost. Now, to make this idea feel real, the manuscript uses these amazing elemental analogies. First up, the strong nuclear force is fire. Just think about it. The incredible, fierce, binding energy holding the center of an atom together. It's pure, raw, cohesive power. It's fire. Then you have electromagnetism, which is compared to water. It's the force of light and charge, and it acts like this fluid, flowing field that connects everything. It carries waves, it has polarity, just like water. It's a perfect fit. And the weak force, the one responsible for things like radioactive decay, for one particle subtly changing into another, that's air. It's invisible, it's always in motion, and it represents that principle of quiet transformation, the breath that allows one thing to become something new. And finally, gravity is Earth. Its stability, its structure, it's the force that gives everything solidity and roots mass in spacetime, giving our whole cosmos its shape. So you see, in this view, fire, water, air, and earth aren't just old ideas. They are deep, symbolic ways to understand the four faces of a single unified source. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the manuscript connects this new physics to some very old metaphysical ideas. This quote from the Quran is used here not as a religious text, but as a symbolic one. The idea that creation was an act of splitting apart something that was once a joined entity, well, that idea resonates powerfully with the theory's core concept of detachment from a perfect unity. And that leads us to the biggest, most mind-bending implications of all. Because if a theory like this is even close to being right, it doesn't just unify the four forces. It totally redefines our picture of what reality even is. Get ready, because this changes everything. In this new picture, gravity isn't even fundamental anymore. It's more like a composite shadow cast by the other three forces. And dark matter and dark energy, maybe they aren't weird, exotic particles at all, but just leftover remnants of that original unbroken unity. Entropy isn't about things becoming more disordered, it's a measure of how far the universe has drifted from its perfectly ordered beginning. And time itself? Time is simply the pulse, the very signature of our detachment from that timeless primordial stillness. Which leaves us with this final, massive thought to chew on. For 100 years, we've been looking for a master equation. But what if the theory of everything isn't found in mathematics? What if the ultimate answer is a philosophical one? An idea about unity, about intention, and about light. An idea from which all the math simply flows. It's a question that pushes us right past the edge of physics and into the very heart of what it means to exist.